Hello everybody, welcome back to Creating Hanley. I am Kimberly at Creating Hanley, and this is our October star block of the month. I call it Pumpkin Star. And I think I've seen this before online somewhere called Pumpkin Seeds. I'm not exactly sure, but I'm calling it Pumpkin Star because that's a star right there. And this is a pumpkin. Now, this is a scrappy pumpkin. And I'm not going to show you how to do the whole thing because at this point in the year, if you've been doing the whole sew a year full of stars, sew along, quilt as you go, you know how to put strips together. So what I'm going to show you is how to do this star, which I may have even done earlier in the year. But I'm going to show you how to do this, and I'm going to show you how to make the half square triangles. Right here, the half square triangles, which you already know how to do, but we're going to do it a specific way for this one block. And then I'm going to show you what I did for this little stem right here, okay? And then the rest of it, you can kind of see it's pretty simple. These are 4 3/4. So everything is 2.5 inches. 2.5 inches. I'm not sure what that is in centimeters if you guys are following along and you're in a different country and you don't use inches. I'm sorry, I don't know what that is. But right off, I can tell you this is 2.5 inch. These are 2.5 inch blocks. Everything I used is 2.5 inch except for this. This is 2.5 inches up and down, but it is only 2 inches wide. Everything else is 2.5 inches. So you can use jelly roll strips for this. You can use charm squares and cut them down to 2.5 inches. You can use layer cakes and cut them down to 2.5 inches. Whatever scrap fabric you have, cut 2.5 inch blocks. Where's my square? My 2.5 inch square. Now, ignore the blue tape, but the 2.5 inch square. This is from OmniGrid. I'm not sponsored by them. I just bought this a while ago, 2 years ago. So anyway, 2.5 inch square. This little square you may have seen in a previous video is my 1 1/4 inch for the postage stamp blocks. So I just left the tape on for that, but you can still use the outside. Okay, so there's that. So that's what I'm going to show you how to do. And then the rest of it you can piece together using 1/4 inch seam allowance and put the whole thing together. And then you have this pumpkin star block for our October, end of the month, October. So a year full of stars. Quilt along, quilt as you go. Star block of the month. Yay! Okay, so the first thing I'm going to show you is how to do the half square triangle. Now, like I said, if you are only doing one pumpkin block, that's great. You can use this method. If you are doing multiple pumpkin blocks, then you will waste fabric. So there's a different method to do that. But if you're only doing one, I'm going to show you that now. So this is kind of how I set up you can see the, over my shoulder here, this pumpkin. I just put these in place. These are not sewn together. I just placed them there in some semblance of scrappy order that I found pleasing. And then this is all over here. I know the camera, I'm sorry. This all is the fabric that I am choosing from. These are all 2.5 inch square blocks. This is the fabric I'm using for these stems. This is 2 inches wide by 2.5 inches tall. And then these are white 2.5 inch strips. This is actually white on white. So when you do your white on white or any color on color, make sure you know the front and back sides to it. I have a little note here to remind myself. Make sure that I find the right side first. You probably can't even see that. Determine the right side first. This is a super fast video, and it's probably not even going to be good quality. Already, this camera's going all crazy, and I feel bad about that. I've started this video several times. I actually got about 15 minutes into a video, and then my neighbor called, and I had to go. So, we're going to try to compress this. Now, this is what we're going to make. this 2.5 inch half square triangle. We've done this before, guys. This is not new. Now, if you're putting 2.5 inch square pieces together, you have to be very careful on the drawing of your line and on the sewing of your line. So you can see here where I sewed, where I drew the line, corner to corner, and where I sewed. Right a little bit beyond where the line is. I didn't draw direct, or I didn't sew directly on the line. And you can see right here where I got it caught in the feed dogs. Yeah. And that was a whole thing on the other video that I explained, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, I'm still using this because you cannot tell on this side. It still is good. So, when you are using 2.5 inch blocks to make another 2.5 inch block, you need to be very careful on where you draw your line and where you sew, so that when you fold it over, your block isn't short. You do not want to lose any real estate in your fabric, because once you do, you can no longer use that block. It's too small for your project. So, keep that in mind. So, let me show you this pumpkin again. So if I put this back in place right here, that's where that goes. Now, if I show you the template, so I made this one already, you can see this block has star legs, this block has star legs, this block has star legs, and this block has star legs. This one does not, so the corners do not, and in fact, this corner is a half square triangle. So it's north, south, east, and west. North, south, east, west. Those blocks, those 4 blocks, units, 2.5 inch blocks, have star legs. The corners do not. Okay? Now, can you put this anywhere in your pumpkin? Sure. You can put it up here. You can put it over here. You don't have to put it here. You can put it here. You can put it over here. Wherever you have enough space where you still have north, south, east, west to that. So if I put it here, I still have a north, south, east, west to that. So you can do whatever, you can put your little star wherever you want. And in fact, I may do that on some different pumpkins. But in the meantime, let's just do this one. And so you can see, I want to recreate this. Now, I have this fabric here. So I'm going to do north, south, east, and west. North, south, east, west. So I do not touch the corners, and this in fact is already a half square triangle. So I'm going to show you how to do this. All right, so let's just take this one and this piece. All right, take it over to the machine. Now, if I bring it down here, so I know this piece is north, and if I put this towards you, now you can see I need some star legs up here. Okay, so I'm going to take other 2.5 inch squares of the same background fabric or the same star color. It does not have to be white or light. It can be a darker color if you like. Just make sure it's separate from all the other colors in your pumpkin. All right, so now I have to determine which the right side. This is the white on this side. This is the back. So I'm going to put right sides down. Now I want to create star legs that go like this. White out this corner and white out this corner, okay? So I'm going to place this at a diagonal. Now, if you just visualize it, if you place this down, hold this with your fingers, and then pin that over, fold that over, you can see if you cut this out, this corner out, now this corner becomes white. And we're going to do the same thing with this one, but we want these to intersect. So to make it scrappy, you just follow whatever line you want. You don't have to have, specifically in the center. Now, if you want to do in the center, oops, I just lost that. If you want to do in the center, you can fold this, find your center line, and then now that is center, and I'm going to put this corner here, and then this corner over here. Now you want at least 1/4 inch to hang out over each side. And then if you fold that over, now you can see where your star leg is going to be and how high it's coming up here. Same thing for this. So you just, this side is going to be a little bit smaller unless you went right to the center. And then you place this overhanging. Make sure your corners overhang. And then if you do, fold that over, and then you know this side is going to look like that. Okay? So let me take you over to the machine. So I know my center line is right here because I marked that with a fold. And I'm going to place this on right sides down. Just like that. So it's going to be diagonal. And now I'm going to sew along this white edge right here. I'm sewing along here, but I'm sewing in a 1/4 inch seam allowance, okay? And I'm making sure that both of these corners overhang the colored fabric. 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now I take that out. Now this is what it looks like, okay? Now when I peel that over and finger press, that's what that looks like now, all right? So again, find my right side. Here's my right side. Put the right side down. I know where this is where the white intersects here on the color. So I'm just going to place my fabric right there and then overhang this. And because I have a whole big block, I know when I fold this over, this little square part, this little corner part, I'm sorry, the corner part is going to be covered with a square. So I'm doing the same thing here. 1/4 inch seam allowance, starting off the fabric, attach that on to the color and take it off. Okay, now when I open that up and finger press that back, this is now what your fabric looks like. Okay, so take it over to your cutting surface. Now I'm going to iron it real quick just because I always say I like to work with flat fabric. Flat fabric. Okay? Now, when I place my 2.5 inch square right on here, I trim the white part off. Now, do you have to use this? No. You can use a bigger square. Now here's another bigger square. I just place 2.5 inches on the square part, right? Just make sure this is 2.5 inches. 2.5 inches on the square, okay? And then I trim here, turn this around, 2.5 inches. Make sure you measure properly and then trim that last bit, okay? So take that over to your cutting surface, and however you want to do that, do that. So I'm just going to take my little square. Although this little Weasley thing, this moves around on me quite a bit. It's a little squirrely. And sometimes that is not good because then I miss cuts and I make wrong cuts. You can't even see that. You see my leg. That's not good. Let's see if we can do this better. Okay. All right. So. Now, does this create waste fabric? Yes, it does. That's why I'm saying if you're doing one block, it's not a big deal. If you're doing more than one block, then you probably want to do a different way. But now, you can leave the bottom fabric on if you want to. That just creates more bulk in your quilt top. So I am going to trim mine off just like so. Look how teeny tiny this piece is. Guess where this is going? This is going in my crumb box. Actually, it's not going in my crumb box. That I'm going to put on a fusible interface and create new fabric. There we go. Just like this. So I'm going to create new fabric just like this on my fusible interfacing, and then you stitch, and then you have new fabric. Okay, so I'm going to save this little piece for that and all my trimmings for this project. But this is different, not part of this project. All right, now I've just created this star leg right here. And when I put it into my pumpkin, it looks like that, okay? Now I want to do the south piece right here. So I don't need to take the white out. All right. So that's what that looks like so far. Now I want to do these 3 pieces. So I'll do one more for you guys on camera because you should get it by then. And then we'll do the half square triangle. Okay? So I'm going to use this orange and then these 2 whites. Okay? So again, just to reiterate, find your right side, put it on, make sure you have overhang, take it to your machine, 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now, it's important once, oh, you couldn't even see that. It's important that once you do this, that you open up and you press it back. Because if you leave it like this and then you put the next piece on, you're not going to be able to flip this up. So it's very important to open this up, press it out. If you want to, you even take it to the pressing mat, press it out so it's flat, and then you put your next piece on. Make sure your sides overhang. Show the machine, and then sew that part on. And now you open this up and you have your other star leg, okay? And again, I press because I like flat fabric, and then take it back over to your cutting surface and do your square 2.5 inches. Oh, the other video was a little bit better. I don't know. This is not as great. Okay, so 2.5 inches. Trim off if you want to. You don't have to. Again, that's up to you. But you can trim off the excess fabric underneath. And voila. Now you have another star leg. Let's show you. Okay? Now you have that star leg. Now you want to do your east and your west in the same way, in the same fashion. So it looks like that. And then you have another one over here. Looks like that, right? So now you have your star legs and your pumpkin is coming together with your star. Now let's do the half square triangle. You guys have done a half square triangle already. I'm going to take this piece right here. Take a white background. Draw a line, corner to corner. Make sure you line up, face side down, face sides together, right sides together. And then when you sew, this is your guide, and you're going to sew just a little bit off of that. And then you're going to fold over. Actually, you're going to cut this off. So here's, again, more waist. But if you sew this together, now you have a smaller half square triangle, and you can put that into a scrap project. I'm just going to leave these like that. Now, if you open this up, you have your half square triangle. This should measure 2.5 inches. I think this might be a little bit smaller because I think I may have lost a little bit of real estate. I didn't lose a whole lot, just like a teeny tiny bit. You don't really want to lose any, but that's how you make your half square triangle, okay? And voila, that's how you make your half square triangle. You need 4 of these. 4 of these, 4 half square triangles per pumpkin and 1 star per pumpkin. Okay? Does that make sense? So then you add that to there and then do that. Now, you sew your rows together. Sew your rows together. And then you can put 4, let me grab this, 4 3/4 inch white fabric up here. 4 3/4 inch, I don't have any cut, I'm sorry. White fabric right there. Sew this on there, sew that on there. Now you have your row, and there's your, oh, I meant to show you that how to make, yes, right. You can leave the stem like that, flat like that, or you can take one of your scrap pieces that you just cut off of the other half square triangle, find your right side, and again, something similar. So this is going to be the top. I'm just going to place that here. Now, imagine it's sewn down, and you want to make sure that the white overhangs all of the brown so that it takes up that space, okay? And this one does. So I'm going to take this to the machine. Can you see? Oh gosh, guys. This video, not so good for you. All right, I'm going to try that again. I'm going to reset the needle because it's in the wrong place. Here we go. Try this. Open that up, finger press. Now I've just replaced all that brown, and I'm going to trim it because that's what I do. Trim this up to meet the edges of the, I don't know where to put this camera. All right, now you have your stem piece, and then you're going to put your stem up here, like so. Sew it on here, sew that on there, sew your rows together. Guys, this video is terrible. I apologize. I'm just doing this too quick. I may actually not even post this. Anyway, sew all your rows together, and then sew those columns or rows together, and then put your border of white on the outside like this all the way around. Okay? And then that's your pumpkin. All right, guys. Good luck on that. I might try to do a better video. This one's a little bit fiddly. It's a little more fiddly than what we've been doing so far. This one, well, actually, the spinning star was kind of fiddly too. A couple of them were fiddly. But this one, yeah, it's a little bit more time consuming, and but once you get, once you get all these little stars made, you can actually like chain piece a bunch of these half square triangles if you want to. And then if you wanted to make more than one block, if you're going to make them one block, there you go. Bingo. Okay? Have fun with this, guys. I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.